these are heavy. I'm getting some exercise today. Who am I kidding? I'm already tired. So let's go ahead and just get into the video. Hey guys, it's Kira here, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the fantasy series that I really hope to get into. There are more fantasy series that I want to read that are not on this list quite yet. Guys, I am in desperate need of help. Not just the psychological kind, but I'm very indecisive, and I've had a lot of decisions that have been made like lately that have not led me to 5-star reads. So I'm looking at fantasy series that I can read. I have quite a few already on hand, and I'm looking at ones that are already completed, not ones like that are in the process of being completed. And I'm also open to the ones that are going to be completed soon. Of course, like, this list is by no means extremely comprehensive of everything that I want to read. One of those series happens to be The Burning by Evan Winters, the Burning Trilogy by Evan Winters. I really want to read that too because I've heard wonderful things about it, but it's not yet complete, and I hope to be getting to that one as soon as it's complete because it just sounds so amazing, and I really want to dive into it. But I'm going to be talking about all the ones that I really want to get into, and I'm going to need your help to decide which trilogy I should read first. So let's go ahead and get into the list of the things that I want to read. So one of the fantasy series that I really want to get to is the Assassins Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This I've heard nothing but absolutely amazing things about. It is grimdark. Grimdark fantasy tends to be one like that I happen to enjoy because it's darker than regular fantasy. But this is the very first book in the Robin Hobb universe, and I want to start making my way down into the Robin Hobb abyss to enjoy the wonderful things that I hear Robin Hobb does to people, which, you know, when you read grimdark, I'm pretty sure like that just assume that you're going to get your heart broken at least once or twice along the way. But this series is complete and has been complete for quite some time. I really have been looking forward to this one, but I'm not sure if this is one of the ones I should pick up. Another series that I am dying to read, it's only a duology, is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Fazil. So I've heard a lot of really good things about this. This kind of has one of those angsty like romances, like on enemy lines, I guess, and it's kind of got a really big hate to love. And I love the enemies to lovers sort of thing because it's just to die for usually. As long as the one person doesn't kill another, it won't be literally. Zephyra is a hunter and Seer is a prince of death. They're both legends to their kingdom, but neither one of them really want that kind of responsibility. And in this kingdom, war is brewing, and Zephyra ends up being sent to retrieve this lost artifact. Well, Nasir ends up being sent on a similar mission that sends him to find that artifact and kill the hunter, which is Zephyra. I think it sounds really amazing, and this is another one that's been towards the top of my TBR. Another book series that I've been looking at for a very long time begins with The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This was actually blurbed by Brandon Sanderson, I believe. I don't think it's on this book, but apparently this is just an epic story. I have a feeling that this is going to be from a multi-perspective, and I've heard so many things that are good about this. One of the characters as follows is Divian, and he's considered a gifted. He and others like him are despised, but he ends up discovering that he has a power that affects the augurs, and it sends him on a mission that changes everything. This also follows a woman all the way, I believe, on the west side of this world, and it's supposed to be, like I said, I've heard just amazing things about this. This is another one that's towards the top of my TBR. Another book that I really want to read is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, and I've heard a lot of good things about this as well. This is a YA fantasy that follows a shape-shifting fox that's sworn to hide a mysterious scroll. This looks like this is supposed to have war and a quest and a whole bunch of other wonderful things. Yumiko is raised by monks, and she is trained to hide her half-human, half-kitsune nature until the day her adoptive home is burned to the ground, and she has to escape with one part of this ancient scroll. I'm really looking forward to this one. This one has been on my TBR for quite a while, and check out the cover. I am just obsessing over this. Okay, so I think this book is considered a fantasy because it's called And I Darken by Kirsten White, and this is a gender bend retelling of Dracula. And I always consider Dracula kind of fantastical because we don't consider vampires real. I've always been a huge fan of vampires, and the fact that it's a retelling, I've actually heard a lot of mixed things about this series. It seems like some people really love it and some people not so much. So I'm kind of like at a crossroads of like where I want to put this on my TBR. But this is the first in a completed trilogy, and it's been on my TBR for a very long time. Another trilogy that I have been dying to read is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This follows Nahiri in 18th century Cairo. Nahiri is a street con artist. She's used to kind of sleight of hand and being smooth and everything else and this goes really well for her until one day she accidentally summons a djinn. After this happens, she is forced to admit that there is a magical world that she only dreamed about as a child. And in this magical world is a city called the City of Brass. The setting is really intriguing because I've never read anything like this, being an epic fantasy that's set in Egypt. I have never read anything much that has to do regarding jinns. That's something like that's kind of a fairly new topic for me also. And not to mention, I've also heard a lot of people who have really loved this. All of these series that I'm mentioning, I've heard like a lot of really good things about. So this is like one of the reasons like why this decision is just terribly hard for me. Another book series that I've had on my TBR for a very long time. This I bought like probably like a couple of years ago, and I've still kind of like been having it like on my shelf, kind of like looking at it and like wondering when I'm gonna get to it. So that series is The City Stained Red by Sam Sykes. So the premise is, after years in the wilds, Lenk and his companions have come to the city that serve as the world's beating heart. They've come to claim payment for creatures slain, blood spilled at the behest of a powerful holy man, and Lenk has come to lay down his sword for good. But this city is no place to escape demons. This is a big book. Super big floppy paperback. I love floppy paperbacks. I'm normally more of a hardcover kind of girl, but when it comes to floppy paperbacks, they're a pretty close second for me. I have been really wanting to get to this one also, so let me know what you got, like if anybody has read this, what they think about it, or if you guys want me to read this one next to let you know how I feel about it. Another book series that I'm really hoping to get to is the one that starts with Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. So I've had this on my TBR shelf for so long that I don't even remember what it was about. I just heard that it was good. And I also heard that if you are a fan of Name of the Wind, that this is a completed trilogy that actually helps to kind of quench that thirst. I would have Name of the Wind on here, but who knows when that's going to be completed, because that has been on my TBR for the longest time too, and I'm kind of salty about that because I really want to get to that one also. But Bloodsong I've actually heard quite a few good things about. Velen Ensorna was only a child of 10 when his father left him in the Iron Gate of the Sixth Order. The brothers of the Sixth Order are devoted to battle, and Velen will be trained and hardened to the austere, celibate, and dangerous life of a warrior of the faith. He has no family now save the Order. Valen's father was Battle Lord to King Janus, ruler of the Unified Realm. Valen's rage at being deprived of his birthright and dropped at the doorstep of the Sixth Order, like a foundling knows no boundaries, he cherishes the memory of his mother, and what he will come to learn of her at the Order will confound him. His father too has motives that Velen will come to understand, but one truth overpowers all the rest. Velen El Sorna is destined for a future he has yet to comprehend, a future that will alter not only the realm, but the world. So, yes, that is the first one in the trilogy. This trilogy I've heard majority good things about. I have heard through the grapevine that the last book isn't everything that you want it to be, but I'm still interested in giving this series a try regardless, because I have heard really good things about this. Another book series that I have had on my TBR since I think last year, because I ended up getting the rest of the series at a used bookstore, which coincidentally enough they were not used books and they are put away right now, but I ended up using a bunch of my books that I turned in, and I ended up getting them for practically nothing, which is always a good feeling. So the next series that I'm going to talk about is The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. I have seen so many of you talking about this. I have seen Holly from Holly Hearts Reads, I believe that's her channel name. She was actually saying like that these might be better than the Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. And I read that series a couple of years ago. I think it is now. Maybe I read it last year. I don't know. But I loved the character development in that. That was incredible. And I have been wondering about this series for quite some time. Now, honestly, if I hear a series is good and I hear it from enough people, I don't even want to know what it's about. I kind of just want to go in and be surprised about it. So I'm kind of like debating like on this one also. From what I know, like that this has a ton of political intrigue. And you know, honestly, like that's like one of the primary things like that I really love to go into fantasy for is the political intrigue. So I'm really hoping like that I get to this one also soon. Another series that I've also heard really good things about, the Keeper series by David Delgish. Now this is another like one that I kind of heard like that there was enough good things about that I was not about reading the synopsis for it, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that now because this is not one I feel like less people know about this one like than some of the other ones that I've mentioned. So Devin Evanson is a soul keeper traveling through remote villages as a preacher and healer, but when a dragon awakens the size of a mountain and leaving great chasms in its wake, the veil is torn, flooding the land with ancient magic and forgotten races. Now Devin must set aside his words of peace and accept his new role, slayer of monsters and protector of the human race. But not all the creatures that have reawakened mean humanity harm. And as Devin slowly befriends people of these new races, his discomfort in the role grows. But soul keepers must slay without mercy, and even sympathizers risk the wrath. I believe, if I remember right, this is another grimdark fantasy. And I seem to be drawn like to the really dark fantasies. Another series that I'm really kind of like thinking about reading, I read the Dream Blood, the first book in the Dream Blood series. And I realized like the second book in that duology is not following like the exact same characters. And so I had trouble kind of like going back to it. I know I'm going to get back to it eventually because I loved the Dream Blood by N.K. Jemisin so much. So I do want to get back to that really soon. And Sarah from Voyage Through Worlds actually has said that the second one is better in that duology like than the first one. But I'm still very tempted to move on to the Inheritance Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I'm kind of working my way into the Broken Earth Trilogy because I heard that the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, which is another trilogy that is on my to-read list, is so amazing. When I find out like that there's a particular series by an author that is so amazing, I try to not read that one first because I want to be able to enjoy their other works completely organically. So I'm working my way up to the Broken Earth trilogy, but I don't want to read that one quite yet because that is the one that she's known for. So it's either I go through and I finish the Dream Blood duology, or I move on to the Inheritance Trilogy, and I kind of want to sample the Inheritance Trilogy before I make my way back to the Dream Blood duology. So that's another one that I really kind of want to read that's on my TBR. Now some of the other honorable mentions like that I will say like that I'm really interested in reading, but they're not completed series yet, so I have a hard time rereading stuff. So when I jump into a series, I'm more likely to read the whole series if I read them after they come out. And what I do is like I binge read a lot of the series. That's what I did for the Poppy War. That's what I do for a lot of the things that I read. So I really do prefer to have all the books out. Another honorable mention like that I'm waiting for it to come out is Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. This is called Between the Earth and Sky trilogy, and the blurb for this one's the first book in the Between Earth and Sky trilogy, inspired by the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americans and woven into a tale of celestial prophecies, political intrigue, and forbidden magic. And the tagline is, "A god will return when the earth and sky converge under the black sun." So this is another like one that I'm waiting for it to complete. I've already bought the first book because I know how important that is to the other books being published. So I have invested in wanting to read that series eventually, but I am waiting. If I know I want to read a series, I usually impulsively buy the book because that helps to support the author, which is very important, and also helps to support my curiosity that the book series will eventually be completed. So that's the majority of the books. I've mainly focused on fantasy. I have a whole list of science fiction series that I really want to read, and at some point when I'm in the mood for a good science fiction book, I'm going to be coming back to you guys and asking you which ones you guys think I should read, because I have a whole slew of science fiction series that just sound absolutely incredible. So I hope that you guys enjoy this video, and if you guys have a fantasy series, whether it be young adult or adult, that you guys think I should be adding to my list, put that in the comments below. Also, if there's one of these series that I've mentioned that you think I should read, just go ahead and dive into. Also, put that in the comments below. And if you guys have made it this far, give me a little heart emoji to let me know that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this video, hit the little like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon if you guys want to receive emails every single time I post. I'm also on Amazon, Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and actually I have a little few videos on TikTok as well, so those links are linked in the description below. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you guys again very soon.